Take a look out there.
Yes. Let me see you.
Wait.
Battlestar Galactica, 1978. Considered one of the most iconic science fiction works of its time, this series brought mesmerizing space. Battles, shiny robots with deadly red eyes, and a massive budget that made producers break a sweat. It wasn't just a TV series. It felt like a weekly blockbuster movie with a scale larger than anything audiences had ever seen on television.
Why are you launching Vipers?
Please arrange for Chief Tyrrell
And Lieutenant Agathon to be handed over to
my Marines as soon as they arrive.
But Battlestar Galactica wasn't just famous for its grandeur. Despite lasting only one season with 24 episodes, this series was packed with bizarre behind-the-scenes stories, untold secrets, and shocking facts that will leave you stunned. From lawsuits with Star Wars hidden religious concepts, a deadly toy that endangered a generation to real-life troubles, Battlestar Galactica was a journey not just on screen but also behind the scenes. Let's explore 20 weird facts you probably didn't know about this classic series. 1. The deadly toy incident. Every child in the late 70s wanted to own the Colonial Viper spaceship, the symbol of the fighter fleet in Battlestar Galactica. But behind its glamorous appearance lay a dark secret. In 1978, Mattel released a toy version of the Colonial Viper that could shoot small plastic missiles. It seemed like a fun feature, but it turned into a disaster when a child accidentally swallowed a missile and died. Another incident left another child narrowly escaping death. This incident not only forced Mattel to recall the entire toy line, but also led to changes across the toy industry. Toy safety regulations were revised, banning products with dangerous projectile parts. Toys no longer fired like before, but at least children were safer. It's strange how an inanimate toy could create such a significant turning point. The Colonial Viper wasn't just a spaceship in the show, but also a symbol of painful lessons for the toy industry. 2. The Cylons nearly brought Battlestar Galactica to court.
Attention, attention. His Eminence, the Imperious Leader, will be with us shortly. His ship has landed at the air dome.
The Cylons with their scanning red eyes seemed like an original creation, but Lucasfilm didn't think so. As soon as Battlestar Galactica aired, George Lucas's legal team filed a lawsuit against Universal Studios, claiming that the series blatantly copied Star Wars. Not just the Cylons, but also space combat effects, the Evil Empire, and motion control filming techniques were listed as rip-offs by Lucasfilm. The interesting part, many of the effects artists from Star Wars also worked on Battlestar Galactica. Coincidence or deliberate? No one knows, but the lawsuit dragged on for a while before being dismissed. Although no official ruling was made, tensions between the two franchises lingered for years. If you look closely, you'll see similarities between the space battles of the two universes. Was Battlestar Galactica a revised version of Star Wars, or just a victim of the space craze? The answer has faded into oblivion. 3. The pilot episode was interrupted by history.
It's an ambush, and they've got enough firepower to destroy the entire fleet.
On September 17, 1978, millions of American viewers turned on their TVs to watch the premiere of Saga of a Star World. A grand space battle, a promising story, and then the screen suddenly switched to President Jimmy Carter. The Camp David peace accords between Egypt and Israel were announced, and the show was interrupted right at its climax. Viewers were bewildered, even angry for being tricked out of the battle to listen to a political speech. ABC was forced to re-air the episode to calm audiences. But strangely enough, this event made Battlestar Galactica part of television history, not just for its content, but also for the unique timing of its broadcast. A science fiction series interrupted by a moment of global peace. This combination sounds fictional, but it's true. 4. Battlestar Galactica wasn't meant to be a weekly series. Glenn A. Larson. The creator of Battlestar Galactica never intended for it to be a weekly television series. Initially, he planned to create a series of TV movies with each episode resembling a feature film. In fact, the pilot episode Saga of a Star World was released in theaters in Europe and Canada before airing in the US. But when the pilot episode achieved record-breaking ratings, ABC demanded that Larson turn his idea into a weekly series. And that's when everything became chaotic. Producing one episode per week placed enormous pressure on the crew. Scripts had to be written faster, special effects were reduced and quality sometimes declined. Even so, the series maintained a cinematic appearance that fans couldn't resist. Battlestar Galactica proved that even if it wasn't perfect, it could still become a classic. 5. The Strange Time System. One of the details that made Battlestar Galactica stand out from other science fiction series was its time system. Characters never used terms like hours, minutes, or seconds. Instead, they used terms like yarn, centon, and micron. A yarn was equivalent to a year, a centon was like a minute, and a micron was the space version of a second. This system was created by Glenn A. Larson to make the Galactica universe feel more alien than Earth. But for viewers hearing characters shout, "We only have 10 centons to escape," sometimes felt like a joke. Who knows how long 10 centons actually are? Even so, this time system gave Galactica its unique identity, making it a universe different not just in space, but also in time. A small detail, but one that carried significant weight in world building. 6. Hidden Mormon religious ideas in the show. Behind the space battles and the escape from the Cylons Battlestar Galactica was a treasure trove of hidden religious themes. But these weren't vague ideas. They were concepts directly inspired by the Mormon faith of Glenn A. Larson, the creator of the series. The story of the 13th tribe leaving the planet Kobol to search for Earth. It sounds very much like the story of the lost tribes in Mormon belief. Kobol, the sacred planet in the series, was also a space version of Kolob, a divine concept in Mormon theology. That's not all. The Council of the 12 in the series, the leaders of humanity, also mirrored the leadership structure of the Mormon Church. Larson cleverly wove these ideas into Battlestar Galactica, blending them seamlessly with the science fiction setting. The result? The series wasn't just a tale of survival, but also a journey filled with spiritual undertones. Interestingly, at the time, not many people noticed these references. But if you were a Mormon, everything would have stood out as clearly as the red glow of a Cylon's eye. 7. One actor, two completely different roles. Patrick Macnee, one of the most memorable actors in Battlestar Galactica, didn't just take on one role. He was both the menacing voice of Imperious Leader, the head of the Cylons, and the mysterious Count Iblis, a character exuding dark energy. What's strange is that both roles had suspicious similarities, leading many fans to believe that Count Iblis and Imperious Leader shared a secret connection that was never revealed. The terrifying face, fiery gaze, and booming voice of Macnee made Count Iblis one of the most unforgettable characters in the series. But what gives chills is his transformation from a visible, sinister figure to an unbodied, spine-chilling voice. Was this a secret purposely hidden by the show, or simply a clever way to save on the budget? Either way, Macnee created two characters you can't forget. 8. Costumes recycled from other films. If you thought Battlestar Galactica spent millions creating brand new costumes, you'd be surprised to learn that most of them were actually borrowed from other science fiction films. The flight crew uniforms, civilian outfits, and even some of the Cylon costumes were recycled from films like Logan's Run and Silent Running. Just imagine designs that seemed futuristic were simply old costumes modified with a few straps, and some added sci-fi details. But thanks to this creativity, Battlestar Galactica managed to maintain its grand appearance while staying within budget. This was a perfect example of filmmaking in the late 70s. Reuse, recycle, and repurpose. No one noticed, and this allowed the massive budget of the series to be allocated to more important things like jaw-dropping space effects. 9. Production costs were unbelievably high. Battlestar Galactica wasn't just a TV series, it was a revolution in terms of budget. The pilot episode Saga of a Star World alone cost over $8 million, an astronomical figure for television at the time. For comparison, an average TV episode then cost around $200,000, yet a single episode of Galactica cost 40 times as much, and each subsequent episode still consumed about $1 million. With its space battles, special effects, and massive sets, Battlestar Galactica quickly became one of the most expensive shows in television history. But ironically, this massive cost was why the series lasted only one season. ABC couldn't sustain the expenses even though the fanbase remained loyal. Battlestar Galactica served as a powerful reminder of the saying, "Dream big, be ready to pay big." 10. Muffet 2. The robot dog that wasn't a robot. Muffet 2, the adorable robot dog in Battlestar Galactica, turned out not to be a robot at all. Beneath the shiny metal exterior was a real dog named Evie. That's right, Evie was trained to move around in the bulky robot costume, bringing Muffet 2 to life with natural movements that special effects couldn't replicate at the time. But imagine a dog having to act inside such a hot, heavy outfit. The production team worked carefully to make sure Evie was as comfortable as possible. The result, Muffet 2, became one of the most memorable details of the show, a symbol that was both cute and strange. And if you ever wondered why Muffet 2's movements were odd yet full of personality, now you know the secret. 11. Lines were read from cue cards. Imagine a massive sci-fi production like Battlestar Galactica, with breathtaking space battles and dialogue that sounded like it was written by actual scientists. But the truth is, many times the actors couldn't even remember their lines, because they were reading straight from cue cards scattered across the set. With the rushed production schedule, scripts were often written right before filming. To save time, the team came up with a creative solution. They hid cue cards all over the set, from the backs of control panels inside props, and even on the set walls. The actors simply had to glance at them and read. A kind of cheat sheet right in front of the audience. If you pay close attention, you might notice some wandering eyes or odd pauses as they tried to find the next line. But don't blame them. Delivering complex terms like yarn or micron while pretending not to look at a cheat sheet was a superhuman challenge. Sometimes the magic of Battlestar Galactica wasn't just in the content, but in how they hacked their way to completing the show. 12. Cylons were originally aliens. Don't be fooled by the shiny metal armor and scanning red eyes of the Cylons. In the earliest concepts, they weren't robots at all. That's right. The Cylons were originally envisioned as a race of living aliens wearing metallic battle armor. In fact, in the theatrical version of the pilot episode Saga of a Star World, there's a brief moment showing the face of an alien underneath a Cylon helmet. So why the change? The answer lies with the censors. They were concerned that depicting living beings being killed on screen would be too violent for younger audiences. The solution? Turn the Cylons into emotionless robots to avoid controversy. And so, from a complicated alien race, the Cylons became a cold, unfeeling machine empire, and arguably even scarier. A small change, but one that defined the entire Battlestar Galactica universe. 13. Baltar was supposed to die in the first episode. Baltar, the main antagonist and symbol of betrayal in Battlestar Galactica, was never meant to survive beyond the first episode. In the theatrical version of the pilot episode, this traitor was executed immediately after helping the Cylons annihilate mankind. Yes, his head was removed right on screen. A swift, brutal, and entirely logical conclusion. But when ABC decided to turn the show into a weekly series, they realized they needed a long-term villain to keep the audience engaged. So Baltar was resurrected. Instead of being killed, he was spared by the Cylons and became their loyal servant, constantly causing trouble for Galactica. This change turned Baltar into a classic villain, but also left fans wondering if Baltar had died in the beginning. How would the story have unfolded? A small adjustment and history was rewritten. 14. Military vehicles in real life. Battlestar Galactica is famous for its space battles. But have you noticed the futuristic vehicles the crew used on different planets? The Landrum and Snowram, vehicles that looked modern and equipped with sci-fi technology, were actually real-life military vehicles that had been modified. Yes, they were heavy-duty vehicles like armoured snowmobiles repainted and fitted with a few sci-fi details to match the show's aesthetic. This repurposing not only helped cut production costs, but also gave the series a unique style, a blend of modern technology with the rugged look of the 70s. While they weren't as flashy as the flying vehicles in Star Wars, these vehicles still became memorable symbols of Battlestar Galactica. One thing is certain, if you saw one of these vehicles in real life, you'd never guess they were once driven by the crew of Galactica. 15. The Unseen Battlestars. While the Galactica takes centre stage in the story, the series' universe also mentions other massive battleships like Columbia Pacifica, Triton, and even Prometheus. These were part of humanity's defence fleet before being wiped out in the Cylons' surprise attack. But the strange thing is, all of these ships are only mentioned in dialogue. There are no images, no models, no signs of their existence, just fleeting mentions of their names. The reason: budget constraints. Creating models or special effects for each ship would have been far too expensive, so the production team kept them shrouded in mystery. Ironically, this added to their allure. These names sparked the imagination of fans and later became the foundation for novels, comics, and expanded stories. A vast but mysterious universe. That's what makes Battlestar Galactica even more captivating. 16. Battlestar Galactica handheld game. Into the late 70s, Battlestar Galactica wasn't just a TV phenomenon, it also invaded the world of toys. One of the standout products was a handheld electronic game released by Mattel. The screen. Just a small black box with a few blinking red LED lights. But for kids back then, it was like holding an entire space battle in their hands. The game put you in the role of a Viper pilot battling Cylon ships which were actually just wandering red dots. The sound. An endless stream of loud, high-pitched beeps whenever you shot or got hit. The storyline, none. But none of that mattered. Kids went crazy for it, and the game quickly became one of the best-selling products, keeping the Battlestar Galactica craze alive even after the series ended. Today, if you find a working unit, it's not just a classic toy, but also a piece of history. It's a reminder of an era when just a few LED lights could make children feel like they were flying through space. Simple yet magical. 17. The strange hierarchy of the Cylons. The Cylons weren't just mindless robots with scanning red eyes. Their empire actually had a complex military hierarchy far more intricate than you'd expect. At the bottom were the Centurions, basic robot soldiers with cold metallic voices and tireless laser shooting abilities. Slightly higher up, were the command centurions, distinguished by their shiny gold armor, responsible for issuing orders and controlling combat. But the real intrigue lay with the higher-ups. The IIL series Cylons, like Lucifer, had bizarre designs, glowing heads, transparent brains, and voices dripping with arrogance. Above that was the imperious leader, the supreme ruler always hidden in the shadows with a voice that radiated authority and power. This hierarchy made the Cylons more than just a group of machines. They were a fully fledged empire with clear layers of power. Ironically, despite being so organized, the Cylons still couldn't defeat humanity. Perhaps designing an AI-powered robot army wasn't as brilliant an idea as you'd think. 18. Battlestar Galactica paved the way for a massive franchise. Even though it lasted only one season, with 24 episodes, Battlestar Galactica achieved what many long-running series never could. It created a lasting franchise. After the show ended, Universal Pictures wasn't ready to let the brand fade into obscurity. They quickly developed Galactica 1980, a sequel series that, to be honest, no one wants to remember. But that was just the beginning. Over the years, Battlestar Galactica continued to thrive through novels, comics, video games, and even theme park attractions. Then, in the 2000s, the franchise exploded back into popularity with a darker, deeper, and more modern reboot. From a single-season show, Battlestar Galactica became a cultural icon, a story of survival politics and morality cherished by generations. Not every show can claim to have launched a universe that spans decades. Battlestar Galactica did, and it all started with a single season in 1978. 19. Inspired by the Bible. The journey of Battlestar Galactica wasn't just a battle between humanity and the Cylons. Beneath the sci-fi surface lay stories directly inspired by the Bible. The journey of the survivors aboard the Galactica searching for a promised land called Earth. It's clearly a space version of the story of Moses leading the Israelites through the desert to the promised land. Even small details carried religious significance: the Council of the 12, the prophecies, and the planet Kobol, believed to be the origin of humanity. These were no coincidences. Glenn A. Larson, the creator of the series, skillfully incorporated elements of mythology and religion into Battlestar Galactica, making it not just a sci-fi series, but a philosophical work with profound meaning. This blend of themes helped Battlestar Galactica transcend the boundaries of entertainment, becoming a story that posed big questions about life, faith, and destiny. 20. Battlestar Galactica inspired many other sci-fi series. Battlestar Galactica wasn't just a phenomenon in itself. It also became the inspiration for many modern sci-fi series. From Firefly, with its story of a group of survivors on a ship, to The Expanse with its political struggles in space, the influence of Battlestar Galactica can be seen everywhere. Even elements like the mix of high technology and humanistic themes, a hallmark of Battlestar Galactica, have become the standard for later sci-fi series. Moreover, the 2004 reboot set the foundation for reviving old franchises, paving the way for countless reboots in the following decades. Battlestar Galactica wasn't just a show, it was a milestone, a turning point in television history, and an endless source of inspiration for filmmakers, writers, and sci-fi enthusiasts. Thank you for watching. Battlestar Galactica 1978 wasn't just a series, but a sci-fi legend with unique behind-the-scenes stories and a timeless impact. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to discover more fascinating secrets. See you in the next video.